There we go. We're recording. So we are back with another Thursday night interview, and so I would love to just welcome Johnathan and Toni White to this episode. And so, guys, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have talked to just a number of people in a variety of roles and settings, and so there's a specific reason why I have the two of you here. And so I would love for you just to introduce yourselves, talk about how long you've been at NorthRoad, maybe what brought you to NorthRoad. And then what you guys both do, so people will understand why you're sitting on the other side of the screen.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I'll go first. Again, Johnathan White. I'm actually an assistant principal right now at Troy Buchanan High School. And come July 1st, I'm actually going to be the new principal over at New Horizons High School here in Troy as well. So I'm very excited about that opportunity. We moved to the area about 5 years ago, and we're looking for a church. And I had bounced around a little bit. And of course, the first time we walked into NorthRoad, we both walked out of that first service in the small sanctuary, and we both said, "I think we found our church."
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And I'm Toni White. I'm the principal of Cuivre Park Elementary here in Troy. Will be my 6th year as a building principal here. And prior to that, I was in Ellsbury for 16 years. So always in Lincoln County.
Yeah. Hey, we love our Lincoln County people. That's for sure. I have never been outside of Lincoln County living, so I get it. Well, yeah. So the main reason that I wanted to have you guys on tonight is just, this has been such a weird season of life, and I don't know that there's many people that have felt it more oddly than educators and administrators, right? Having to navigate through not just the craziness of the season, but also make some really hard decisions. And as we were saying just before we started recording, you guys have had to deal with it kind of on a double front, right? Dealing with it on your family side, but then also the emotions of, you've got educators, both of you being principals, you've got educators that are looking at you and saying, man, we didn't even get to tell our students goodbye, or, the transitions and all these things. And so just kind of as a blanket thing, how has this whole thing as administrators, how has this affected you guys? How has it impacted you?
Well, I think same as everyone else, just trying to navigate through these unknown areas and with unknown insight on how long things will last. It's hard for me as a leader to lead people in an area that I'm not familiar with, of course, but then the best part is our teachers and staff members just really stepped up and took charge, took the lead, and really leaned on one another to learn from each other. They have been very gracious to me, not having answers to things and not being able to provide immediate feedback on certain things. But I would say the experience for both of us has been just, I haven't had a single complaint from any teacher, family member, community member that's come across my desk anyway during this whole time, which I think is outstanding when there are so many unknowns. But yeah, I think the hardest part is leading someone in an area that you're unfamiliar with. We can both lead things when we're comfortable in the area, and we feel like we have a strong skill set, but in those pieces that we're not as familiar with, that we're kind of floundering like the rest of them. But
yeah, and I would say really funny. I was thinking the other day, when we were kids, on TV shows or cartoons, there'd be like a telephone would ring and there'd be like a little screen and the person's face would be on there. And I'm like, that's exactly what we do all day long, every single day now. We had started doing some preliminary interviewing using some online tools and Zoom video. We had started that a few years ago. So it's not unfamiliar, but to do it every day, multiple times a day now, is definitely a new norm for sure.
And we kind of argue over who gets the kitchen and who has to go downstairs, and it depends on who set up the Zoom meeting. So we've had that. It's been kind of comical.
Yeah. But I will say, Shawn, one of the greatest things about during this time, people really pulled together, and it is amazing that we need 50 volunteers every day. We do food at school. And that need is filled every single time, and that's throughout the district, the 50 people that come in and do the food, the buddy bags and provide the food. But just in general, people really have, it's tough. It's hard. Transition's hard for people. Change is hard for people. But I've just been really impressed with the school district in general. I think the community and, what you guys are doing too. It's just been really very heartwarming. Lincoln County's kind of, risen to the occasion, and as awkward as it has been, and at sometimes it's really reassuring that people are going to rise up and do the right thing and be, their good nature is going to come out. So it's kind of been nice.
And I would say
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Nope, it's all you.
I was
People want
going
to
to
hear
say,
you, not me.
we have a lot of friends in other districts that are educators as well. And so leaning on them in this time to help figure out how to navigate and hearing all of their perspectives and what those communities are doing for their community members, it really is just kind of validating and uplifting.
Yeah, it's funny having 3 kids in this district. As we walked in, as our kids started to get older and we started looking at school, we're like, okay, do we do private school? Do we do public school? And, I grew up in Old Monroe. And so I was a Winfield guy. And so Troy was always like, that was a dirty word in Old Monroe. Okay. But, our kids, like we have just been blown away. Like our kids they've really loved this season of life. Now they say they want to see their friends and all that. But I mean, yesterday, for instance, one of our daughter, her reading teacher stopped by and had a book and a note and wrapped it up, and it was like a special gift for her, and stopped by her house and dropped it off. And today, one of our twins, their kindergarten teacher, sent a flat Stanley of them and all the Zoom meetings and all these things. Like it's been so cool to see that they're more than just a student. There's real relationship there.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that even in the season of life, educators are investing in their kids, and you can just see how emotionally attached and invested they are. And as a parent, I mean, that's what you want. That's what I want my kids to want to be in school. And we've seen that. And so kudos to you guys for leading in a time. Trust me, we get it. We have people all the time look at us and go, what are we doing? I'm like, we don't know. I mean, when was the last time you went through a pandemic where everything is shut down? Who knows,
Exactly.
But really, thank you guys for leading the charge, because man, our kids have been so much better off because of what you guys are doing and the way you're leading. And so thank you for doing that. That kind of leads into the next question. So what has the response been, since the decision was made to cancel in-person school for the remainder of the year, which I know, gosh, you guys have some of the worst positions to be in. I think every time there's a snow day, I just think what you have to go through to make those decisions with Dr. Penny and all these things, it just seems terrible. Because I know what it's like trying to figure out on a Sunday morning for church if we're going to have it. But, having all these families that are looking for you, what has the response been? Have you heard any response just to the decision to kind of move to this new format for the rest of the year?
Yeah, what was interesting, early on we kept saying, we'll just have to wait, just it was a waiting game. And I'm kind of, in a way, I was kind of relieved that, the Governor Parsons just pretty much said, hey, we're done. So, school's done. It took away a lot of the guessing, and it took away a lot of, like you said, like the snow day kind of game where why are we not in school? And so, and what I will say is once that solidified, it was actually a lot easier, because then we could move forward with what is the online learning going to look like? What's that platform going to look like? What are the expectations for students, for teachers? And, and basically you didn't have to worry about, hey, we're going to come back and do 2 weeks of school, or, whatever that might be. So the response actually has been like Toni said, we haven't had complaints. People have been very receptive, very understanding. We're trying to do as just over communicate, just keeping people, and even if we're setting dates on certain things, right? We know that that's fluid. People know that that's fluid, but we're at least trying to give some structure to this time, especially moving into the summer and then eventually, we'll talk a little bit about the start of next school year too,
Yeah. I think once the decision was made to finish for the end of the year, it was interesting. The people that came to do like parent pickups for homework packets or for an iPad, additional people came that originally hadn't, because they were like, I've got this, or they might have picked some up before, but they were also, like you said, very appreciative and thankful and asking questions on, okay, that kind of thing. But yeah, it was interesting. The people that showed up for the second round that maybe first round, but
it's been
very
positive, very positive. Yeah.
Good. As it should be. I mean, the way that you guys have handled it has been awesome. And, we, like our kids get so excited to go to parent pickup and pick up the papers and stuff. They want to see their teachers. And I just think, man, what a testament to just the whole R3 school district and what's going on, man. It's incredible. We love, like I said, having been a Winfield guy, I've been so impressed just with the way that this district loves on our kids and pours into them. And so, it should be positive.
And I'll just add to that is really our district leadership, Dr. Penny, our assistant superintendents, they have done a great job of managing this from even back in spring break when this kind of started to unroll and looked like a possibility. We were on a Zoom meeting on spring break with our entire admin team for the district, kind of planning and starting to have those conversations, those pre-conversations. They have done a terrific job. And, Dr. Penny is just, is a terrific leader. And we really, I'll say as a district leadership team, admin team, and I worked in other districts, this is a solid group of people that really care about the community and care about the kids. It's not just a job, there's so much more to it. And I love hearing stories about kids and seeing kids. I've seen a few of my students in public, just whatever. Yeah. And it's just like, you just miss them. I mean, you really do. It's just
my favorite part has been jumping in on classroom Zooms. And so I've asked teachers to send me the link as well, and being able to jump in and see the kids sharing with one another, and teachers having to mute all of the students because they all want to talk at the same time, or, learning all of that. And I also really have liked, and this might be off the question a little bit, but I've really enjoyed seeing the family members who join in, like the siblings that join in on the Zoom meetings, or we've had like a scavenger hunt, we've had a show and tell, we've had music lessons, we've had art lessons. It's just been fantastic.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, I one of the first Zoom meetings that our daughter Haley, so she's in 4th grade, so she'll be going into 5th grade. They had a Zoom meeting. 4th grade, that's like that fine line where you can let her do her own thing on the Zoom meeting, but then you kind of don't want to. And I walked into the kitchen, and it was just like this utter chaos on the screen. The poor teacher's trying to talk, and one of the kids is like, "Let me show you my cat," and the other one's like, "Let me show you my brother."
That's what happened. The first one I was on, that happened a lot. That's when they sent out, you can mute all your students, but because we're, again, learning as you go. But one of my favorite comments was the first Zoom I got on with a student. It was a 2nd grader, and he's looking at all of his friends on there, and there were about 10 or 11 kids on there. And he said, "Hey, are you guys at your house? Or why are you at your house?" And we're like, "You're not the only one at your house, Right. The world revolves around the kid, So
of course,
pretty funny.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so absolutely. I mean, I think the response, very rightfully so, should be positive. Now, obviously, the downside of that, of course, is there's a lot of emotions surrounding this. Being at a high school, better than most, there's goodbyes that didn't really get to happen. And so, as leaders, as you have teachers that are looking at you going, everybody's responding well, but I'm still dealing with the emotions of not being able to see my kids. And I thought I was going to have 2 more months of pouring into them and building and solidifying those relationships. How have you guys led your staff through this? How have you reassured them as they've struggled through the early goodbyes and as they've had to just see them online? How have you done that?
Yeah, we do send out a kind of a staff kind of checkup on Fridays, just, how are you doing? Do you need anything from us? All the administrators have been Zooming with multiple, departments that we supervise. So just keeping in contact with our teachers, just, whether it's actually on the phone or, on a Zoom meeting, but really just trying to let them know that we're here, we're available. Some people obviously manage it much better than others. I think some people are really, going on over, really talking to kids a lot more and making those connections to kind of fill that bucket. But when you talk about that senior group of kids, and our oldest is 18 years old and she's a senior. You talk about that senior group of kids. I mean, the big banner at the high school right off, right. I mean, every time I drive by there, you get kind of like so nostalgic about this moment in time. And I know that they're going to look back, and all of us will never forget this, but it's for them. I know it feels like they've kind of, it's been taken from them, this moment, this crescendo, and you spend all this time, and all we can do, and all we've been trying to do for our staff and our students, obviously, is just try to connect in little ways. Right. And we did the big parade the other day at the high school, on the senior parade at the high school. And it was, it was kind of raining or whatever. There must have been 150, 175 cars come through, loaded with kids. And the video's out there. It was remarkable. It really was. I've not been a part of something that special. And, the moment Deputy Jackson fired up the lights and sirens on his car to lead the parade through, I had tears in my eyes. I was like, oh my gosh, this is one of those moments that I'm just proud that we're doing it, and proud that we're, offering the faculty the ability to get up there and wave to some of those kids and see them again. And then to give the kids the opportunity to have some type of recognition was just awesome. It was amazing. And I know moving forward with, graduation, prom, potentially, we don't know still if that stuff, we have dates for it, but we don't know what that's going to look like. We don't know yet, but we are going to do everything we can to make it a point to celebrate these kids and their accomplishment, and that, make sure that 2020 isn't just too bad. We're going to do something to make sure that they know that, hey, we care about them. We love them. We want to celebrate them and give them some type of moment, whatever it looks like. So that's what we're planning on kind of moving forward.
And at the elementary level, we had several schools that did parades early on until the stay-at-home order, and then the other schools that had them planned had to stop those. So that was pretty sad for our staff to not be able to, they prepared things, and students had prepared posters and that kind of thing. It's been hard. And not to single out too many stories, because there are so many stories out there, like the story of Hudson and Holland's teachers bringing by things. There are so many stories that we don't know about, but I know of some teachers that drive into town from wherever they live just to use Wi-Fi because they don't have good Wi-Fi at their house. So they drive in daily or several times a week, which is a total commitment that they go above and beyond. I had one teacher come in the building to do she had to get something for whatever it was, but she had to come in the building, and when she walked into her classroom, I had to escort her up there, and when she walked into her classroom, she started crying. And she is not someone who gets super emotional, but I think it came over her, and so when we think about that, and then we think about, for us, our fifth graders that should be transitioning into sixth grade, and we won't see them. We have some plans in the works for that, but when we think about it affecting us as adults, the way it affects the kids is what we really want to focus on. And the other piece I would say that when you talk about the emotional side of it is very early on, our biggest fear, other than the safety, is how are we going to feed the kids? And this is, again, very early on, but I had tons of people come out to help. But in addition, in those homes that maybe are not the best environment for the students to be in on a regular basis, those teachers that will do everything they could to reach out and make sure that we make contact and make sure we are able to provide them with any resources they need. And our counselors have done amazing with that, and teachers keeping updating us on those situations so we can help those families.
I love hearing the heart behind it, because Troy is such a growing area. We've got 47 elementary schools in Lincoln County, seemingly, but there's just so many personal touches and so many stories. Hearing the story of the teacher coming in and just crying, I want people to hear that so they know how invested these teachers are. As a kid in high school, if there's a kid in high school that's watching this, I'm sure at the onset he's like, oh my gosh, I've got 2 months free, right? This is amazing. But then the emotions set in, and I think of when I was a senior in high school, the thought of my entire senior baseball season being done and not getting to walk the halls with my best friends, and all those emotions, and then as educators having to watch all of those students that you poured into not have that experience. It's just, from this side of it, it's really cool to hear the heart behind it, because in a town like Troy, it is a small town, right? And it has that feel. And so the parade and all these different things, and just the heart that you guys have, it's really cool to see. And I think that's why so many people love it, and why you're seeing teachers go above and beyond, because they just love that feel.
Exactly.
So kind of shifting gears now, one of the things that has happened out of all of this is parents have been kind of transformed into teachers, right? We're sitting here going, okay, how do we teach our 2 kindergartners and 4th grader in this season, and make sure that they don't fall behind and all these things. And so what would you guys say to encourage the parents who are sitting there going, I don't know what to do in this season. I'm not a trained teacher. I do X, Y, or Z, and this is so out of my comfort zone. What would you say to encourage them just kind of in this crazy season of life?
I would absolutely say, without a doubt, that you are doing everything that you absolutely should be doing, no matter what that looks like for your family, and to less is more, and to not be hard on yourself. All of the teachers that I've talked to that have families, they are struggling to help their own families or their own kids in that way, like you mentioned. And so they're hard on themselves. They're like, I'm a teacher. I'm doing all this for the other kids, and I'm not doing it for my own. And again, the same grace given to them that, less is more. It's Teacher Appreciation Week this week, and different buildings are doing different things. But tomorrow happens to be, at my building, we're honoring parents because they became instant teachers. And so tomorrow is the Parent Teacher Appreciation Day at Cuivre Park. And so, it's just, I've heard nothing but, what am I doing? How do I do this? I had somebody from the district message me one time, higher up in the district, and she texted me and said, can you please tell me what a Google site is? And I said, Jack, I know I wasted them out, and I said, I don't really know, so they've got to figure it out now, but
I would just add, one is just, right now is that people just need to, love one another, take care of one another. The education thing is something that, I remember reading the thing on Facebook from the teacher that was in Florida during one of the hurricanes, and it talked about, the schools shutting down, and that it's okay. It's going to be all right.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to come back to school eventually. The kids are going to, the school district will, help fill gaps, and we'll figure it out and just do the best you can. I'm finding it's interesting. I think early on, a lot of kids were not as engaged online, but I think they're so bored that a lot of them are like, I guess I'm going to do my homework now. Yeah.
Right.
And some of the homework we watch, our daughters do homework. I'm kind of like, hey, I wouldn't mind doing that right now too.
Right.
Can I jump in and give you a hand?
Right.
Some of the stuff's been terrific. So yeah. So I just say hang in there, and whatever you're doing is perfect. You just just had to take care of one another.
Yeah, that's a really good word. So I know this next question, you probably won't have many answers to, but I think it'd be good to talk about what can we expect moving forward? As we look into the next school year, obviously there's so much up in the air just with what the governor's going to say, what the CDC is going to say, the health department, all these different things. How is this going to impact not only what school looks like, but maybe processes and procedures? Will it impact things like that? Do we even know at this point?
I would start with just saying that every department in our district and all the districts really have been working tirelessly for the reentry plan. I mean, as we're working on the plan to continue learning, or side by side, we are also, all of the departments are working on what is it going to look like to come back. And this was from before spring break to after spring break when we didn't come for those 2-week chunks, and then now looking, further and further. And I guess as far as the processes, they're outlining several different scenarios and what that might look like, and what they can do. I know that every department is chomping at the bit to get the kids back in school. The halls are empty, and that's not fun.
Yeah. Well, I'll add, moving forward, we just put out summer school is going to be virtual learning only. So there's 2 different journeys for the elementary kids, and there's a bunch of course offerings for the rest of the kids, which is it's not different than what we did last year. Other than we had some seated, stuff at the ninth grade center and at some of the elementaries, but that just won't happen. But moving into next school year, like you said, we just don't know enough yet. But what I truly believe is that it is going to look different. We can't just ignore this. As much as I want to say it's going to be business as usual come August, right? Reality is it's probably not going to be business as usual, So what that looks like, we got some time to figure that out. We're going to, like you said, we'll let Governor Parsons, and we'll let the CDC and, Lincoln County Health Department, we'll let them help, guidelines and things of that nature. But, most important is we are going to go back to school. It is going to happen. So whatever it looks like, we're going to see kids again in those hallways, and we're going to, be educating. And it's basically all of our mission is to, make sure we support our kids, support our community, and we educate our kids. So, when it gets down to it, whatever it looks like, we're going to do it, and we're going to do it well, So it's weird times, but it's exciting too, to think about, hey, we've learned a lesson maybe here. So what can we do better, moving forward as well. So.
And I would also add that teacher teams are looking at what the students miss from 4th quarter, and what is this, what we call essential standards, and how are we going to fill that gap, because we're all going to be in the same boat, and looking at what students already have mastered that skill in August based on the previous quarter, and they don't need that additional support, what students need to be taught that, or what students just need a little bit of help. So teacher teams and elementary teams, and then across the district with the leadership of our district leadership teams, they're putting those plans in place already. And again, it's kind of nice that we have this amount of time to really put forth that work, but to make sure.
Yeah, and I'd say, and Shawn, and the media is driving me crazy right now, right? I just stopped watching. Just me. But the fear-based media, that they just want that story to be in your face, and I would just urge everyone and anyone just to take a few deep breaths. We definitely are headed in the right direction, and school year. We don't have to have all the answers. We're not going to have them by the end of this month. We won't have them by the end of July, probably, but maybe not even by the end of July. But what I'd say is it's going to be okay. We'll find that process. But when they talk about next winter it's going to come back, or it'll be even worse, I'm like, why are we talking about next winter? Right? Let's get through May. So I would just reassure everybody, don't worry. We can manage this together. We can support one another like we've been doing. Right? I think the worst is behind us, and we've done a pretty darn good job, I think, as a community and as a church. You guys have done wonderful.
Absolutely.
I've just been so impressed. I feel more connected to church, I think, now than I even did before, in a weird way, and that's kudos to you guys. Your leadership online and the online, just everything you guys offer has been just so on point. And I would encourage you guys, I would encourage teachers as well. to continue to do things like that, moving forward. It's a weird format, but it has really, in ways, it's going to change the way we communicate, So, moving forward, maybe we are doing some Zooms or whatever in the future with school, but whatever it is, right, we will move forward. And I think things are going to definitely move in the right direction moving forward right now, in the next few months. So.
Yeah. And I think what you said is so true. Normal is gone, right? And I think we have learned a lot of lessons. I was having this conversation with one of our student pastors earlier in the week. And I was saying, we have a generation of kids who it is just nothing but screen time, right? They're on their phones, they're on the tablet, they're on the computer, and they are hungry for personal interaction, right? And so I feel like almost an entire generation can be changed through this. And now there's this intrinsic value on relationship, and I think we're seeing unity in a way that we haven't seen in a long time, which we see most of the time when there's tragedy or challenge, right? We see kind of increased unity, but I do think that we can come out of this thing better, and we can come out of this thing with greater maturity and greater understanding of the value of relationship and relational equity and all these things. And so, yeah, I think you hit it on the head. I think this is a season that we can really use for growth if we choose to.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and Shawn, like when you think about schools, I think we take it for granted, those connections that kids need and the connections they have with adults and the connections they have with each other. It is a unique workplace because, you have your side-by-side employees and your colleagues, right? And you have the students though, and it's not a product, they're not, they are, those human beings, and you see that when that connection, that everyday connection was taken away, you could just feel this collective kind of like moment of wow, this is a reality, and I think, the part that what you guys have done has been so great, and I know a lot of the teachers in the schools have done, is just staying connected any way we can, right? Any way we can. And I will say again, like you mentioned, this is going to be different. There is not what normal is what it's going to be, from this point forward. So, yeah.
So, kind of the last question I had for you, and where I would love to just land this thing is how can we stand in the gap and pray for you guys, your staff, as you walk through this season? Obviously, you guys have big decisions coming up, some of which will come well above you guys from the governor and the CDC. So that makes that part kind of easy. But how can we pray for you guys? What can we be doing as the community, as parents, just to not only pray for you guys, but to encourage you as well?
Yeah, when I pray with my kids, before meals, I've added this line to my prayer, and basically it's, is that, God, I hope that this time brings people closer to you, that you use your will at this time, and I will say that is that my answer to that is that, you guys have already done some amazing things that I think have brought more people to you, to the church, and to God, which is just terrific. And I would say just keep doing that. Have a lot of faith. Like I said, there's a lot of fear and change. There's a lot of fear in the media piece, but we all need to continue to have a lot of faith. God's hands are very big. His shoulders are very broad. We have nothing to worry about, and when you listen to too much media and you let the other sources kind of steer you away, right, from that faith bit, this is not a time to be afraid. This is a time to celebrate. We're with family. We have time when we can pray together. We have time we can watch, a service together and be more unified. So I would just say, you guys just keep doing what you're doing. I encourage you guys to continue the online, even when we do start to go back. I think it's been terrific and it's been much needed. Some people aren't going to go back to work or go back or whatever for several months still, so even though we may be able to get outside and have some services or whatever, it'd still be nice to still see that stuff. So that would be my piece, my answer to that.
And I would echo that, in that when when other people get drawn closer to God, then they are going to spread that faith and that energy and those prayers to others who will also, and then some, and then, kids pick up on our stress level as adults. And so the calmer we are and the more connected we are, obviously they will pick up on that. But then, using this time to teach your kids about the Bible and about Jesus and his sacrifice, and using that time, going back to it, how are you doing as a parent, as a teacher? Maybe pepper some of that in, if you haven't already, but I think that you kind of nailed that one on the head. I'll give him credit for that one.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, this is recorded, so there's documentation.
Oh, yeah, I take it back.
Giving you credit for something.
Can I get a copy?
Absolutely. I'll just loop that one piece.
Thank you. Just saying.
Well, hey, thank you guys so much for your time, for your wisdom, most importantly, for just pouring into our kids and loving our kids. It is more appreciated than you know. For those of you guys watching this later, man, please continue praying. Pray for the teachers. If you see them out, grab them a cup of coffee. Just do something to love on them. Give them a 6 foot away hug, whatever you can do, just to encourage them. For you guys, again, thank you so much for doing this. Johnathan, we'll be praying for you as you walk into this new position. What a season to be transitioning, my goodness. But again, thank you guys for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Shawn. It's been great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been good.